welcome back to another edition of the Racing Mindcast, the show that helps athletes slow down their minds so they can race past their limits. I'm Chris Haig.
And I'm Morgan Bickenbach Davies.
And today, in our three parts, our first part, we're going to be talking about how to let the numbers go and the true indicators of a good workout. From there, we are, in honor of Jesse Thomas Racing Kona, we are going to be reviewing picky bars all the way from Oregon. And in part 3, we're going to be talking about the year of fear. So with not a second to lose, let's dive into part 1. How to not let numbers ruin your workout.
Now, what numbers do you mean?
So I see numbers as power reading watts. I see numbers could be time, it could be distance, it could be pace, it could be heart rate, it could be any metric, any external metric
that you compulsively check on your watch.
You compulsively check on your watch, and are while numbers are numbers, we give them weight.
Yep.
And I think a lot of athletes get caught up in their own mind when they don't see the right numbers. And I
regardless of how they were feeling before.
Regardless of how they were feeling before. And
I think that's the important point.
And this is how this got brought up when we're talking about your ride yesterday.
Oh yeah,
so,
and several other times before, but it's becoming increasingly an issue. Yesterday I didn't really feel like going out in the rain again, so I decided to do a workout on my trainer. And I had a really hard time, to begin with, I was focused on my heart rate as being the indicator of being, of effort, essentially. And I kept looking down at my watch, and it was in, the low 140s, or...
Which is low for you.
Which is low for me. I usually equate in the 150s with giving it my all, or giving it my all comfortably. Giving it my all, balls to the wall is 178. But looking down at my watch and seeing 152, 155 is yes, I know that I'm pushing it. And it's comfortable, but I'm pushing it. And I kept looking down at my watch. I was dripping sweat, and I would look down at my watch and it'd be 137. And it was just really demoralizing for a 2-hour workout to constantly be looking down, and that number, it was almost like that number had a little voice saying, "You're not working hard enough." Sorry for the high-pitched noises.
I think that's what Garmin sounds like. If Garmin was an animal or a creature,
Garmin sounds like a mean girl.
It's butter a carb.
Also a really old reference. We're really on a roll.
Got thousands more, so stay tuned.
The millennials are aging. We're becoming dinosaurs. So it's just...
That movie's timeless, by the way.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get back to this.
It's a classic. So for me, it's mostly heart rate, but I know it's also distance. I never feel like I'm going far enough.
Or pace.
Yeah, so pace as well. Pace is always too slow. So even if I'm, if I am on a roll and I'm not looking at my watch for whatever metric, and I feel good, and then I look down at my watch, it's constantly a downer. No matter what it says, it'll never be as good as I feel, or as when I am feeling good. If I look down at my watch, if I'm struggling, and I look down at my watch and that reflects that, it's okay, at least my body is in sync with what my numbers are saying. But if I'm feeling really good, really energetic, really powerful, I look at my watch and it's either not working correctly, or it is working correctly and my metrics aren't showing how I feel, it's demoralizing. Especially if you have, 45 minutes to go, or an hour and a half to go. It's just really hard to undo that.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what it means for me.
So I get the same way, especially if I feel like running, because I've started running with power.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a full episode, check out the videos that I have on my personal YouTube about the running power meter that I use and how I set it up with my training. And I had not enough time on this podcast to go into that. But there's a lot when I first started out, it would be my effort was high, my heart rate was high, but my power was in the shitter. And that's happened to me on the bike. That's happened to me in races where I feel like I'm giving it my all, but I'm not going anywhere, and people are passing me.
Yeah.
And it really is demoralizing when the numbers that you see and the numbers that you've equated with quote unquote success or being good or specific zones don't reflect
How you feel.
And that can be that is demoralizing and can feel demoralizing.
Because it plays with your sense of reality.
It plays with your sense of reality, and I guess you could even if you're not into fitness, you step on a scale and you think you've been dieting and quote unquote doing good, and you've been dieting and you're following your nutrition program, and you step on the scale and you've actually gained weight. That can be demoralizing too.
Oh God, yes.
But as I said at the beginning, numbers are numbers. We give them weight.
Right.
So.
And they have context.
And that's so important. That's the first step to letting the numbers go, is first context. You have to contextualize those numbers, because those numbers, whether it is your heart rate zones, whether it's your power zones, those numbers those numbers are contextual. Yeah. If you had a hard workout the day before, it could be that your heart rate's very high or very low. If you weightlifted the day before doing a cycling workout, your power numbers, even though a watt is a watt is a watt, your power numbers could be very low given how much you're putting out, or they could be higher depending on how you feel. Those numbers don't live in a bubble, and you have to contextualize them.
And they're one data point.
Like
you have to.
Or they could be several data points.
Yeah,
but
the
even
emphasis
then,
has to be on the trend line rather than on the data point.
One workout is not going to prove that you're becoming out of shape or getting fitter.
Right.
One data point's not going to do that. So you have to contextualize those numbers. So you have to look for the overall trend.
And worrying about it is actually going to make your numbers worse, because it probably means you're going to be more stressed out, getting less sleep, and also just, having less confidence.
And that's another, sleep is a big,
those are three factors versus one factor, your heart rate or whatever, that are, contradicting each other, and they're going to compound and make it worse.
And that's another, when you say contextualize, you also, especially for heart rate, you have to contextualize those numbers as where is that number coming from.
Yeah.
So first off, heart rate's incredibly unreliable.
Yeah.
It's, especially when you're training indoors where you have humidity and static, those numbers can be very, very high or very, very low.
And also hydration.
And hydration plays another key component. Yep. So if you're dehydrated, your heart rate's going to be higher. If you have a cup of coffee, your heart rate's going to be higher. If you have a beer, your heart rate's going to be lower. And I don't recommend having a beer just to lower you down your heart rate.
No, beer miles, bad idea.
Yeah, but also when you're on the bike too, your heart rate's going to be lower than what you're used to on the run.
Right.
And
I never get used to that.
Yeah.
It's always, all of that common sense goes out the window when I'm in the middle of a workout, and my inner demons come out and just start really really just beating me up at the wrong moment. Like it's not like sometimes I just wish they could wait.
Your fluffy is active.
Yeah,
your limbic system, if you want to put
limbic system,
your chimp brain.
My chimp brain, to go back to Les and Sai's book, it doesn't have good timing. And so it comes in at the time where it's the most impactful, rather than waiting, holding off, waiting until you've done your workout, and then beating up on you. Or before.
Letting your coach deal with the numbers and not focusing on the numbers.
Right.
That's the benefit of having a coach, is the coach can worry about the numbers.
But then, like devil's advocate, how do you know if you're pushing yourself?
That, I think, leads into the next part of this, is learning to listen to your body more. And that is a huge buzzword. Listen to your body. I mean, we talked about it on the Intuitive Eating podcast. Listen to your body. Listen to how it's feeling. But in this sense, you do need to listen to your body.
So perceived effort needs to be you need to be very honest with yourself about what you're putting into it.
RPE, in my opinion, trumps numbers 7 times out of 10.
Unless you don't have a fitness background and you don't really know.
But that's the part of training, and that's where a coach can step in and say, this is how this effort should feel.
Okay.
When you're running Zone 2, you should be able to sing to a Justin Bieber song comfortably and smile. When you're in Zone 3, you might be able to wave to a friend and say, oh, good morning, how are you? But that's the end of the conversation. Zone 4 is you're breathing heavily, you're only able to say, hi, how are you?
That's it.
And that's it. And Zone 5 is get out of my way because I'm charging fast.
Can't talk right now.
Ramming speed.
Yeah.
Animal House reference right there. On game today, Chris. On game. And to get back to the point, people need to you cannot rely on your numbers entirely.
Or one isolated metric.
Or many metrics. You cannot rely on any of those to tell you how your body's feeling.
Yeah, you can't depend on one piece of information to tell you the whole story.
No metric is going to be able to measure how you're feeling.
Or how you're...
They can be indicators of how you're feeling, but they can't measure how you're feeling.
They all have blind spots.
Another case in point, HRV, or heart rate variability. It's big in the endurance world for tracking recovery. But I can tell you that I've seen some of my athletes who have very low HRV on a specific day, but they are ready to go. They're gearing up for the next workout. And who am I to say, because, oh no, your HRV app said, you're low today, you should recover.
Yeah.
No. Go out. If you're feeling it, go for it. If you're not, back off.
Or end early.
Early.
If you start feeling good and then it doesn't last long, just call it, call it short.
And let's go back to tomorrow, your zone 2 effort or your conversation pace effort, and your heart rate's lower than what you typically find in zone 2, well then let it be lower. As long as your RPE aligns, or your rate of perceived exertion aligns with what the purpose of that is, the purpose of that workout is, that's 100% fine.
Yeah.
But it is tough to get over that mental hurdle. But you have to train yourself in training to do that. And good ways to do this is and this is what I do with my athletes all the time, is I say, so I set up Garmin's. With Garmin's, you can have different screens. And so on a cycling computer, you can have one screen with just the time. And then on another screen, you have your watts, you have your heart rate, you have your cadence, you have your time, your lap time. And on another screen, you can have X, Y, and Z. But what I have them do is I have a screen just for, time or sunset or sunrise or something, or temperature, something that has nothing to do with their body. And I will have them do the first workout and all right, I want you to hit these watts and this heart rate. And they hit it, great, they recover. Next interval, don't look at it. Don't look at any of the screens. Flip it over to sunset, flip it over to temperature.
Try and find it within yourself.
Replicate what you did in the first set.
So again, body memory.
And then what I'm looking for in that is, how does his RPE align with the numbers? And that can be modified.
It could be up or down.
And it could be up or down. And that's all something that a good coach needs to contextualize in their analysis of workouts and in their analysis of races. But it's important to do those. So, let go of the numbers and contextualize the numbers, but also play around with them, and RPE trumps numbers, but play around with it and see if you can align your heart rate with your RPE, and then on your next set, see if you can replicate that without the numbers. It's balance weird. The qualitative and the quantitative.
It was weird because I tried doing that in my run today, and I noticed a point where I was getting really out of breath, or it felt like I was going, 155 beats per minute.
Dipping into zone 3.
That it was, I was on the higher end, that I thought I would be in the 155 to 160 range. I looked down at my watch, 147. So it felt confusing because it felt like I had like I had lost fitness, because I felt way more out of breath than that number was hinting at, let's say. And so it was just kind of like, what's going on? It was frustrating because it felt like I can't make sense of this given the fact that I am out of breath and I'm having to reduce my pace.
In which case, I would say throw out the number and say, I'm just going to go by feel, because
I had to.
That's good.
Well, I had no choice because I was out of breath, and I'm not usually out of breath at that pace.
So back it off.
So for whatever reason, for whatever reason, if it was just that I didn't get enough sleep, or I was just...
Dehydration could be a part of it.
Whatever it is.
Not enough coffee. I mean, I did make the coffee a little weak this morning.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, but overall, I think in this day and age of numbers and metrics, and this is coming from a devout data geek and first responder.
It's the first time I've heard that word used.
Analysis, big into analytics. We still need to be in touch with our body and how it's feeling, and that trumps any number any day.
Big picture.
So that concludes. Oh, if you have any comments, if you completely disagree with what I just said, let me know in the comments below.
Nice,
More
though.
than happy. Oh, W, troll me if you want.
Oh, no.
I've got. We can have a conversation, an adult conversation offline.
That was passive aggressive.
Well,
Anyway.
if people are gonna troll me on the comments, I mean, you can't get much more passive aggressive than that.
That's pretty aggressive, actually. But
Well,
anyway.
but it's through a digital screen.
Anyway.
That concludes part 1 of the Racing Mindcast, and we will be back with part 2, Buy It or Bonk, in just a little bit. And welcome back to part 2 of Buy It or Bonk. Or part 2 of the Racing Mindcast, Buy It or Bonk. And for those of you not in the triathlon world, as we record this, Kona, which is the Ironman World Championships, were held yesterday in Kona, Hawaii. And one of the pro triathletes there, one of my favorite pro triathletes, just because he's so down to earth, and he also comes from a running background, Jesse Thomas. He's an incredible athlete. He didn't do too well yesterday, but if you can tread the line at Ironman World Championships, you're in the 1%ers, which is pretty darn good.
It's easy for us to say on our asses.
Yes, he is a fantastic athlete.
Yeah.
Regardless of how he.
Anyway, he makes picky bars.
Anyway, he started a picky bar company, a bar company based out of, is it Bend, Oregon?
I have no idea.
I think it's Bend, Oregon. We will double check with that. But they have just recently come to Canada, so we are going to be trying them out. And today, what flavor of picky bar do we have?
All right. So it's weird. It's two. It has two names. So Lauren's Mega Nuts.
Lauren, I believe, is Jesse's wife.
Okay. And then the second title is Peanut Butter Booyah. So I'm not sure, but I'm guessing peanut butter is involved. So macro-wise, we have a 45-gram bar.
Yeah, you can see a peanut butter chunk right there.
So we're looking at a kind of a Lara bar type consistency. 200 calories, 8 grams of fat, 28 grams of carb, 3 fiber, 18 sugar, and 7 protein. And are they vegan? I think they are vegan. Oh, they have honey, but other than that, yeah, it's rice protein. So if you count honey as non-vegan, then they're non-vegan. If you don't care, then they're vegan. And
all right, I know what I'm going to say.
Smells like peanuts, like very natural peanut butter type deal. They're crispy.
You know what I'm going to say?
Rice Krispies.
If you go back to the last episode and look at the naked bars, we tried the peanut butter. This one's a less chunky version of the peanut butter, but tastes almost identical with chocolate bits in it.
Thank goodness I did not get any chocolate bits, but apparently there's chocolate chips. What? Yeah, and it has like the crispy rice pieces, which I'm not a fan of.
So less peanuts, the same peanut taste
Way more
as the naked bar.
way more ingredients. Like it's got upwards of It has something called Red Ape, which is a registered trademark.
Red 8, R-E-D?
No, APE. I'm not sure what Red Ape is. I'm pretty sure it's vegan though.
Yes, it. I wonder what that's about.
But it's more of a superfoods bar. It has way more ingredients, more protein powders, more extracts. All natural stuff, but
Red 8.
so it's just it's a smoother version of the either a Lara bar peanut or the Naked Bar peanut.
It's Red Ape cinnamon. I think it's a specific type of cinnamon.
Really?
Yep, because there's no comma in between
Oh,
Red
okay.
Ape and
I
cinnamon.
thought there was a comma.
Anyway, well, problem solved there. Or
Okay.
solution
So
there.
it's cinnamon.
Cinnamon. Anyway,
I'm gonna go 5.
I'm gonna rate it above.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna rate it above the Lara bar or the naked bar that we tried.
5.5?
I had it at 5.5.
Okay, so
Or
I'm
I
gonna
had it at 6.5, but I had it 6.5 for the naked. I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it would work. I would bonk it for everyday
Overall,
consumption.
Yeah.
I would say buy for a workout.
Yeah.
I would say buy for
It's too sticky.
low endurance workout.
It's too sticky for me, and it's way too small. Like,
Yeah,
for
you don't get
200
much.
calories, it's only 45 grams. It's not huge.
And the macros aren't the greatest, but if you're working out, which is what
Yeah.
you have that caveat, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just hard to please, but it's a bit boring.
It is. It's basic.
Yeah, it is very basic. It might as well just be date paste, as far as I'm concerned.
With peanut butter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give it a 7.5.
I like the packaging.
Buy to support a good company
Yeah.
and a well-run company, and also in a pinch for a workout. But beyond that, no.
Yeah. 7.5.
7.5. That concludes part 2. Buy at our Bonk. We will be back with it's the peanut butter. We will be back with part 3. The Year of Fear. Awesome. And we're back with the Racing Mindcast, part 3, The Year of Fear. So we are recording this ahead of time, so we don't have any fears to report yet. But what fear are you going to be covering this week?
This week I'm going to be meditating every day for a week. I haven't decided on how long because it's completely new to me. So I might start with 5 minutes as like my low bar, and if I did want to go farther, I'll go farther. But a minimum of 5 minutes a day.
Gotcha. Are you going to be using Headspace, or are you going to be doing it?
Just by myself.
Well, get the singing bowl out. Dust off the singing bowl.
Nope, just gonna be absolutely quiet. And
so you're going to do sitting. You're not going to go do nature walks?
I'm gonna keep it open, so I'm gonna have the option. But at least 5 minutes of something.
And why does that scare you?
Because there's so much going on in my head. And I have a major fear of silence. So I constantly, if I'm not talking...
Cue the Simon and Garfunkel song.
If I have, if I'm talking to someone, it's fine. If I have something in my ears, like a podcast or music, fine. If I'm not listening to something at any minute of the day, even when I'm going to bed, it's too much. So this will be a major, milestone if I can pull it off.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
We're gonna have to get the trademark.
Talk with you again.
I don't want our YouTube to get blocked.
We'll get flagged because of my horrible singing of Simon and Garfunkel.
Among other things.
You stop. No, that failed.
This is what I have to deal with. Moving on. My fear that I am tackling this week is, so last week I ate a meal based purely off of enjoyment, and this week I am going to be having a small pizza. And why small?
Why small pizza? Well, just a personal pizza.
Okay, so
or like I think a small personal pizza or 2 or 3 slices, but I'm going to have a real legit pizza, which is
out, like at a restaurant.
Either at a restaurant or takeout. I'm not going to be making it myself.
Oh, okay. That's the rule.
It's going to be like Pizza or Little Caesars or even like a local institution. A local institution, which I think will be the better way to go. But just like donuts, I'm afraid of real pizza. Yeah. It's something about the high carb. It's something about
controlling controlling what you put on it.
Yeah, and I need to face that fear head on.
Okay.
And that is going to be. I think that's going to be
date night.
It's actually, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But I think having you there, making it a date night will be better.
I can bring my cheerleader pom-poms that I don't actually have.
Well, that could be your scary costume.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, that is going to be my fear. Wish me luck on that one because it might be my toughest one to date.
Tougher than the donut.
Tougher than the donut and tougher than stevia.
Whoa. Yikes.
So
don't want to miss that.
So read all about it at braveheartcanada.com. That's where we post all of our summaries of the year of Fear weeks. You can check back in the archives for what we've covered in the past, what our future fears are. You can also check out our coaching options up there, what we can provide you. You can also send us feedback either on the Racing Mindcast, on the YouTube channel, on what we should cover, on what bars we should cover. So we've got a lot of stuff planned in the pipeline, but we love your voice in that picture.
I'd also really like to hear if anyone else has started doing their own Year of Fear. So if anyone else has actually started their, either just one fear or a whole year of fears, let us know. Yeah,
it would be good to hear from you. With that, I just wanted to remind you all, don't forget to breathe this week.